The Council called me to speak because I am the last living commander who has stood at that margin twice and returned from it both times with my crew, and my ship and my mind intact. There are not many of us. The margin does not invite repeat encounters. But twice I have held the outer boundary, twice I have watched what happens when another species decides that the warnings are theater, old stories padded into official doctrine by administrators who have never seen the dark at the edge of human space. And twice I have filed the report that every commander at that posting eventually files in the same cold language, with the same empty coordinates appended, and the same silence where the follow-up contact was supposed to be. The Council already knows what happened to the Vethrak Dominion fleet. 41 warships of the Dominion's fourth and most celebrated armada, including the flagship Rek Vorath, designated undefeatable by their own high command, less than 2 cycles before they crossed the advisory margin. The Council does not need me to describe what is absent. It needs me to say, with my rank and my experience and my name behind it, what the absence means. That is what I am here to do. That is what I will do. I will start where the record always starts, which is not at the moment of crossing, but long before it. At the moment when the warnings were given and declined. My post is the Outer Watch Station Drevuk, positioned at the final navigable boundary before the designated approach corridors to human space. The station has existed for longer than the Vethrak Dominion has existed as a political entity. It has existed longer than most of the species currently in the have held star charts naming the sectors it overlooks. Its walls carry inscriptions added by watch commanders over the generations, not boasts and not memorials, simply dates and fleet designations, and the same notation repeated in species after species script, translated into the current standard tongue as acknowledged and declined. The station's standing instruction, unchanged in its essential form since its founding, is to transmit the advisory at every detected approach and to log the response. Nothing more. We do not intercept. We do not threaten. Do not follow. We are a record. The last voice of the galaxy before the silence begins. The Rek Vorath and its accompanying armada received the advisory at the outer boundary marker on the 14th day of the 3rd season, standard reckoning. The advisory is thorough. It has been refined over generations and reviewed by every species that has since decided to heed it, to remain alive and whole in their sector. It names the boundary. It names what lies beyond the boundary. It names, in the clearest language available across the standard translation matrices, what has happened to every fleet that has crossed the boundary in the last 1,200 years. The list is long. The list has not a single entry with a positive outcome. The list is, itself, one of the strongest arguments for the advisory. No one who reads that list carefully and retains the ability to think coldly chooses to proceed. The Rek Vorath's commanding officer, Admiral Sekal Drevhan, and I use his full title, because he deserved it and I will not reduce him in death, acknowledged the advisory on all standard channels. He was courteous. His transmission was composed and professional and carried no hostility, he stated, with the precision of a senior officer who has thought through his position, that the Dominion High Command had determined that the historical record cited in the advisory, derived from civilizations operating at a technological and tactical level, now surpassed by the Dominion's 4th Armada. He stated that the boundary designation was a relic of an earlier era's limitations. He stated that the Dominion had conducted its own analysis of the sector and found no evidence of the threat capacity implied by the advisories. Language. He thanked my station for the transmission. He said the Armada would proceed. I filed the acknowledgement. I logged his transmission in full. I noted the time of crossing. I set the follow-up contact window at the standard interval, the interval every watch commander sets. Knowing that the window will close without signal as it has always closed, as it will always close. And I released the approach corridor to his navigation. He was not a reckless commander. I want the Council to understand that. The Dominion did not send a reckless commander. They sent one of the finest military minds in their history. They sent 41 ships of their best design, crewed by professionals, equipped with technology that was, by any reasonable assessment, among the most capable in the current galaxy. They sent everything they could justify sending, and they sent it with care and planning. and the full confidence of a civilization that had never lost a fleet. The Vethrak Dominion was not defeated because they were careless. They were not defeated because they were weak. They were defeated because human space is not a question of capability. It was never a question of capability. Capability is what every fleet brings. Capability is what the list in the advisory is made of. 1,200 years of capability. The list is comprehensive. The list includes, if one counts back through the full archival record, the remnants of species that no longer exist. Not species that were weakened, species that no longer exist. The advisory does not emphasize this because it does not need to. The list speaks. The council reads, "The reckoning is available to anyone who wants it." I held the follow-up window. I held it past the standard interval. I extended it. Protocol permits for 3 additional cycles. And I transmitted the follow-up pulse on every frequency. The Dominion Armada's communication systems were registered to receive. No answer, no signal fragment, no navigational beacon drift that would indicate damaged ships at reduced capacity, no distress transmission, no wreckage signature on the sector boundary instruments. Not even the kind of interference pattern that tells a watch commander that something large and violent happened inside the margin and scattered free across the corridor. Nothing. The clean, seamless nothing that the margin produces when it is finished. I have seen it once before. It is not the nothing of distance or of technical failure. It is not the nothing of a fleet running silent on a withdrawal maneuver. It is the nothing of a section of space that was asked a question and declined to provide a record of its answer. The wreck Vorath and 41 ships of the Dominion's greatest armada entered that sector, and the sector received them, and the sector did not return them and did not discuss the matter further. I closed the follow-up window. I filed the report. I appended the coordinates. I noted the advisory status as acknowledged and declined, the crossing as confirmed and logged, and the follow-up contact as absent at standard +3. The language of the report is the same language my predecessors used. I did not invent it. It has not changed in 1,200 years because the outcomes it describes have not changed. It is a perfect record of a consistent event. The Council has asked me whether I believe the sector boundary should be moved outward. The Council has asked this after every incursion since the Dravok station was founded. The answer has always been yes, and the boundary has always been moved. And after every movement, the margin has remained stable for a generation or next civilization decides that it has surpassed the historical limit and sends its finest fleet to demonstrate as much. I will give the Council my answer now, and it will be the same answer every watch commander before me has given, and every watch commander after me, yes. Move the boundary outward. Move it as far as the technical reading of the last incursion implies, and the Vethrak incursion, given the armada size and the zero return rate, implies a considerable distance. Redraw the charts. Seal the record of the wreck Vorath and its armada in the standard archive format for fleets not returned. Send the updated advisory to every species in range of the margin. Some of them will heed it for generations. Some of them will heed it forever. And eventually one of them will look at the list, the long, thorough, unbroken list, and decide that the list applies to every civilization except their own. And they will send their finest fleet. And my successor's successor at Dravok Station will transmit the advisory, and log the acknowledgement, and hold the follow-up window, and close it empty. The legend does not require our maintenance. It maintains itself. It has been doing so for 1,200 years, and it will do so long after this chamber has been replaced by whatever council the next age convenes. We do not keep the warning alive. The warning keeps itself alive, because human space keeps it alive, one absent fleet at a time, in the only language the galaxy has ever truly understood. The stars returned only silence. They always do. The Council may close its session. My report is complete.